Hello everyone, this is Pooka and welcome to another Pokemon TCG video. In today's video we're going to be looking at a pretty interesting deck. It's probably not the most competitive deck in the world, has problems with a lot of popular decks, but it's going to be a fun deck to use, so let's go ahead and try it out. This is going to evolve around two Pokemon. First one is going to be Mega Venusaur EX. Now Mega Evolutions are not very good, because when you play them, your turn ends. So you lose an entire turn Mega Evolving. Also, Mega Venusaur EX takes 4 energy to attack. So it's going to be extremely slow and difficult to do anything with this kind of a card. But the attack is pretty strong. Crisis Vine does 120 damage, and then poisons and paralyzes your opponent. So this could be good against things once it sets up. It's just a matter of getting the time to actually set up. So Mega Venusaur EX is our focus of this deck. Of course, we do need a couple Venusaur EX to Mega Evolve from something. Doesn't have the greatest attacks. It has Poison Powder, 60 in Poison for 3, and then Jungle Hammer, 90, and then Heal 30 for 4 energy. Not very good attacks at all for a Pokemon EX nowadays. But our partner for Mega Venusaur EX is going to be Floette. So Floette has the ability Flower Veil. Each of your grass Pokemon in play gets plus 20 HP. So heck, let's run 4 Flabebe and 4 Floette. Now all of a sudden if we get 4 in play, our grass Pokemon have plus 80 HP because they do stack. You do get plus 20 for each Floette in play. So if we get 4 Floette in play now all of a sudden, Mega Venusaur EX has 310 HP, and that becomes much more difficult to deal with. So that's pretty much a strategy. Just get a gigantic Mega Venusaur with tons of HP and try to run through your opponent. Pretty simple, pretty funny when it works, but again, I'm not sure how often it will work. This is just kind of a cool strategy I want to try out. Other support we have is Virizion EX. Of course, Verdant Wind is very nice because it shuts off special conditions if we have a grass energy attached, and we do play grass energy, so might as well do that. Also, Emerald Slash can accelerate energy onto Venusaur EX so that we can Mega Evolve and then be able to attack right away. So Virizion EX seemed like a pretty natural partner for Mega Venusaur EX. It's going to be pretty slow. I mean, we can expect to attack with a Mega Venusaur like turn 4 at the earliest. But again, if we have 310 HP with Floette, it might be enough to just roll through your opponent. I don't know. Alright, so we also have 2 Tropius. Now, this one might not make much sense, but bear with me. Tropius, it is another grass Pokemon. So with a couple Floette in play, like let's say we get 3 Floette in play, Tropius becomes a 160 HP basic. And that's not bad at all, especially for a non-EX. Return is a nice little setup card at the beginning. You draw until you have 6, so you can't really go wrong there. And then Energy Press does 20 plus 20 for each energy attached to the defending Pokemon. Now this deck is probably going to struggle with those safeguard Pokemon, like Sigilyph and Suicune. Sorry, I couldn't think of those for a second. So we also have Energy Press to work with. 20 plus 20 for each energy attached to the defending Pokemon. So these are our non-EX Pokemon. Also worth noting that it's weak to lightning and not fire, like the rest of the deck. So having a non-fire weak attacker is pretty good. Then our last card is the beautiful Shaymin EX. It has only 110 HP, but that actually gets fixed with Floette. If we get 3 Floette in play, now we have 170 HP, and it becomes actually a difficult Pokemon to knock out. And that's pretty good when you consider that Revenge Blast is extremely powerful. Does 30 plus 30 for each prize card your opponent has taken. So at the end of the game, this can be doing 180 damage, and it can have a lot of HP. So Shaymin EX seems like a pretty cool sweeper at the end, once your opponent has taken 5 prizes. Those are the Pokemon for the deck. Kind of a fun strategy. We'll see if it actually works. And we'll take a look at some of the trainer choices as well. Our supporters are nothing too fancy. We have 4N, and then 3 Juniper, 3 Skyla, 3 Chorus, and this deck also plays 2 Lysander. Now I think this deck probably wants 2 of them because it's going to be super slow, and you can probably afford, once you get set up, you can afford to just use your supporter on Lysander. Seems to make sense. Targeting things down with Crisis Vine is very powerful, especially things like Garbodor, for example, which would shut off our Floette, which we don't like. So Lysander probably will be pretty big in this deck. We also have 1 Tropical Beach. That's just because this deck is so darn slow. You definitely don't need it for this deck. I only play 1 just to have it as an option to Skyla for. You could swap this out with another supporter. You could swap this out with Verbank City Gym if you wanted to take advantage of Crisis Vine's poison damage. You have plenty of options. We also have 2 Hard Charm. Now, most decks run Muscle Band because you want to do more damage, but we're going to run Hard Charm because we want to survive longer. Like if we do have a Mega Venusaur with an absurd amount of HP, Hard Charm will just make it live even longer. We're trying to survive 3 hits. We're trying to survive 2 hits and force our opponent to attack Mega Venusaur 3 times to knock it out. That makes it worthwhile, I think. Having to take 3 attacks to knock out this monster of a Pokemon, that justifies it, I think. So Hard Charm's going to help us keep it in play a little bit longer. Everything else isn't too complicated. We have 2 Ultra Ball, 2 Level Ball, a Heavy Ball, and then 2 Evo Soda. This is just nice because it's kind of a versatile card. It can get Floette, or it can also Mega Evolve our Mega Venusaur, and it can bypass an Archeops on the off chance someone is playing that. 1 Professor's Letter, 1 Startling Megaphone, 1 Switch, 1 Escape Rope, 1 Energy Switch is nice after you Emerald Slash with Venusaur X. Normally you don't attack with it much more. And if you have energy sitting around, you can Energy Switch off the Venusaur X somewhere else. This is a very nice card. We have Dowsing Machine for the A-Spec card. And then 2 Super Rod as well. 2 because it seems like this deck runs out of energy pretty frequently. And I just want to make sure I don't lose because of something silly like that. Right, if you lose a Mega Venusaur with 4 energy on it, you have lost a big chunk of your energy. And I mean, if you lose a couple of Floette and Flabebe along the way, you want to get those back into the deck. So Super Rod seems pretty nice. And then just 10 Grass Energy rounds out this very weird but very awesome deck. So let's take a look at the big bad Mega Venusaur in action. Before I do though, I just do want to note, yes, this deck will lose to a lot of things. It will lose horribly to a Charizard deck because it is weak to fire. You can, quote-unquote, fix this by playing a line of Leaveney, which has an ability that takes away your weakness if you have an energy attached to your Pokemon. That is an option, but, I mean, it feels like by the time you get it into play, it probably won't do enough. And I figured I would just try to show off the baseline strategy of the deck. You'll lose to pretty much anything that can knock you out in 1 hit. So it would be Charizard, it'll be, what else, Raybor deck that's running Delphox, or even the Rayquaza EX can knock you out with enough energy. Fire things are bad. Fire, bad. But otherwise, we're going to be alright. Yveltal EX can be a problem as well, in conjunction with Garbodor. But without Garbodor, it's actually very difficult to knock out a Mega Venusaur with an Yveltal EX because of all the extra HP and a Hard Charm and a lack of Hypnotoxic Laser. So, fire is the main problem. Garbodor is problem 2. Otherwise, this deck's not bad. But that's a lot of qualifying statements, I suppose. Anyway, let's get into a game. And we're going up against Team Polyswag. Then we'll see if our Mega Venusaur deck can get the job done. Alright, I'm starting off with 4 Pokemon in my hand. Since my hand is not very good, we're going to start off with Tropius. And we'll put Flabebe and Venusaur X down on the bench. Reason I'm starting with Tropius is because it has Return. If I do draw Grass Energy, I can get a new hand. So it just maximizes my odds of getting fresh cards, because I don't have a supporter in my hand. So if I do draw a Grass Energy, a Professor's Letter, a Skyla, I'll be able to get a new hand here. But it looks like I'm going to draw Colress. So we're going to go ahead and bench that Shaymin EX. I don't really want to, but I need to draw an extra card here so that I can draw a Grass Energy to return. And there we go. A Mighty Return for 10 damage. And that Landorus EX, well, he's going to go for a Laser and a Verbank, but I do have Rizzian EX on the bench, so that's not really doing much. We see the Muscle Band on Landorus EX, but Tropius does resist fighting, so that's still only going to do 30 damage. Kind of not a very strong attack. But there we go, 30 to the Tropius. And 30 to one of the benched Pokemon as well. We'll see where it goes. Could go on to Floette or Flubebe, or could go on to Rizzian EX or Shaymin EX. There are 3 options here. All of them are viable, but he's going to go after the Flubebe. And that's not a bad choice. So here I have an interesting decision to make. I could attach an Energy Press. That would be doing 60. That seems like a bad option, since I would just get knocked out by Land's Judgment next turn. I could Skyla for a switch, and then go ahead with an Energy Switch, and then Emerald Slash. That doesn't seem like a very bad option. I think that's what I'm going to end up doing. Or I could grab Escape Rope and force something else to come out. But I think I'm just going to do Switch so he can hit the thing that has the energy. I know I could get hit by a big Land's Judgment next turn, but that would force my opponent to discard all energy, so I'm not really too concerned about it. So we'll go ahead and attach Energy Switch onto Rizzian EX, and then Emerald Slash for 50 damage, getting 2 energy into play. And I'm not sure where to really put these energy. I think they're going to go right on to Shaymin EX, since at some point it seems like I will use Shaymin EX, but I'm not really sure. Now, I think I definitely would have preferred to have Venusaur EX down, so I could Emerald Slash to that. So it's unfortunate that I didn't get that opportunity, but I don't think Landorus EX is going to knock out the Rizzian EX right here, especially because my opponent attached to the bench Mewtwo. We're just going to see another Hammerhead for 30, and then knocking out the Flubebe. My poor Flubebe. We're going to level ball for another one, though. Get another one down, and we have an endless supply of Flubebe, it seems like. Those little flowers keep popping up. I'm going to go for a Skyla here. Just going to take a look. Yeah, we're definitely going to need to take a supporter. And it's time to Emerald Slash. Another 50 damage. Going to get those energy right on to Venusaur EX, I think. We need to get Mega Venusaur going at some point if we want to win this game. Most definitely. Now, the Landorus EX does have 110 damage on it. So, any number of things could knock it out. Shaymin's Revenge Blast could do that. Venusaur's Poison Powder could do that. Didn't really think I'd be using Poison Powder for knockout, but apparently we might be doing that. So this is a weird spot. Garbodor still doesn't have a tool, which is nice, but I don't really have any abilities worth writing home about. I don't really have any Floette in play quite yet. Rizzian EX blocking Hypnotoxic Laser could be useful, but otherwise, I don't know. We still need some time to set up, and we're going to definitely fall behind some prizes. You're going to fall behind pretty much every time you use this deck. It's just, we get to make big comebacks with high HP Pokemon. And then we do see Venusaur EX, Poison Powder, and Jungle Hammer. I'm a little worried about that Mewtwo EX sitting on the bench back there, since X-Ball could do a ton of damage. Looks like my opponent is taking a long time to think about his turn here. You only have 2 minutes to make a move. And then Cammy strikes down the hammer and kicks you out of the game. Looks like my opponent will play an N, and it's going to commit that third energy to the Landorus EX. And that means only one thing. We're going to see a Land's Judgment. Will my opponent discard the energy? That's the question. If so, that'll be a knockout. If not, it's only going to be 80 damage, and that'll be an opportunity for Venusaur EX to come in. It looks like, yes, the energy is discarded, Land's Judgment has been served, and my opponent's going to go down to 3 prizes. Now, my plan here is, I don't even know if I want to get Mega Venusaur into play this game. I am going to Poison Powder this turn. Thanks to the Burbank City Gym, the Poison will knock out Landorus EX. Actually, wouldn't have mattered anyway, but whatever. Poison Powder, 60 plus Poison will knock out the Landorus EX, and then I'm going to keep attacking with it, and then if Mewtwo knocks out Venusaur EX, then we're going to try to just sweep with that big Shaymin. Right? Once your opponent gets down to 1 prize, Revenge Blast is ridiculously strong. So that's what we're going to be trying to go for. That's the strategy. Attack with Venusaur until it gets knocked out, and then go for a big Revenge Blast comeback. So let's start that off with a Poison Powder for 60 Poison, knocking out that Landorus EX. We don't have the greatest hand here. I would like to get an N at some point to put my opponent down to a low hand size, but we'll see if that's possible. And one more look at Venusaur EX there. Not a very good card, but hey, sometimes even the mediocre cards can come in and get knockouts in big situations. Always got to be aware of what all of your cards do. We do see an Escape Rope from my opponent, and at this point, I start to feel like, okay, well, if he's going to Escape Rope, I'm going to promote a non-EX, and that'll give me an opportunity to Mega Evolve. Right, I'll just sacrifice Tropius, and sacrifice a Floette, so I can Mega Evolve, and then we'll have this Mega Venusaur EX to perhaps win the game. I mean, that's a monster of a Pokemon to deal with. Mega Venusaur EX with a Hard Charm. That's 230 HP. You do 20 less damage every time you hit it. And if Floette's Flower Veil is active, that's plus 20, 40, 60 HP, depending on how many I have in play. That's very, very strong. So, I don't know. This is going to be a close game. Very much so. I'm definitely losing. But we're going to go for the Mega Venusaur now. I wasn't planning on it because, you know, I was just going to go that route with Shaymin EX instead. But now that the Escape Rope happened, yeah, I'm definitely just going to go the Mega Venusaur route. Now with that Garbodor's Muscle Band, Garbotoxin shuts off Floette. And the second DC gets an X-Ball for 80 on Tropius, knocking it out. That's pretty annoying. Without that Muscle Band on Garbodor, Tropius would have survived because it would have had the plus 40 HP, but that's just not the case anymore. And now, definitely going to use this turn to Mega Evolve. I'm going to Lysander, bring out the Garbodor because it doesn't have a Float Stone and it has a Muscle Band. This could perhaps buy us a turn. And I don't know if I want to bench another Venusaur EX. I don't know if there's any real point to doing that. Maybe to make my Chorus stronger or to draw better in case of an N. And there we go. Mega Evolution. Finally, after we're down 4 prizes, we got the big Mega Venusaur EX into play. And we're going to have to ride its back all the way to a victory if we're going to have a shot at winning this game. We do see a Skyla. We'll see what that goes for. If it's a, I would assume it'll be a switch, right? Just switch the Garbodor out of the active spot. I was hoping my opponent didn't have a switching card this turn, and we would take advantage of that. But we're going to go with an Escape Rope, I suppose. And I already have a Floette active. Let's switch with the other Floette. I don't really want to put a Pokemon EX in the active spot. I could have done the Venusaur EX since I do have an Escape Rope, but I think it's fine to just go down to 1 prize. And that'll make my N stronger, putting my opponent at 1 card every time. But this is kind of unexpected. A Raichu comes out with a DC and a couple benched Pokemon, and that means a Circle Circuit can knock out Floette. I was really expecting to have to knock out, I was really expecting my opponent to have to use Mewtwo to get a knockout, but no, looks like Circle Circuit's getting the job done, and that means Mewtwo will be able to get the first hit in on me after I knock out this Raichu. But again, Mega Venusaur is going to have a mega amount of HP. And this is going to be close. I was fortunate to top deck an N there as the first one I got this game. And we'll put my opponent down to 4 cards. Or put my opponent down to 1 card. I get 4 cards. I draw Startling Megaphone, shutting off Garbodor. So that's going to give me Floette's ability back. And that means we have 250 HP and a Hard Charm. And there's no tool on the Garbodor. And now it looks like my opponent is probably going, uh-oh. That's a big Mega Venusaur to deal with. Tropius being promoted. See a lot of Tropius. And a Skyla. See what this goes for. I would expect something like a Juniper, but what? A Tropical Beach. Alright, well I guess he's playing Tropical Beach in that deck. That's definitely paying off right here with that Skyla for it. Fortunately, I have another N. So I'm just going to end my opponent back down to 1. Say, nope, you don't get 7 cards, you get 1. And we're going to Crisis Vine for the knockout. Hey, there's my Tropical Beach. And now we're down to 2 prizes. Now we'll see what happens. Garbodor gets promoted. Does my opponent have a Float Stone or something this time? Nope, just another Garbodor. So it looks like we may see, there's a Hypnotoxic Laser, Tails, so it's no sleep. I don't have Virizion EX on the field, so that poison's actually gonna work. Speak of the devil, there's Virizion EX, and we have a third N to 1. No, sir. No Tropical Beach for you. Crisis Vine for the knockout. And look at this. 3 straight knockouts for Mega Venusaur. My opponent just can't handle the Crisis Vine. And he's saying 3 straight ends. Oh my goodness. Now we can lose to just a simple Lysander or a Pokemon catcher here. So this is not over by any means. The Floette and the Flabébé are big, big targets. But if those don't come up, then I mean, how do you deal with Mega Venusaur with a Hard Charm? It's just so much to overcome. And, oh man, the Hard Charm on the Mewtwo actually prevents Shaymin from using Revenge Blast for a knockout. Now it'll do 160, so Hard Charm's not a card we see very much, but both sides are playing it. What an unusual game. And there's an X-Ball for 140, not even close to a knockout. But let's go. Let's Skyla for, there it is, game-winning Escape Rope. Anything on my opponent's bench can be knocked out by Revenge Blast. So Garbodor's going to come out, and Shaymin will come in with the game-winning Revenge Blast in a wacky game. A big comeback for the Mega Venusaur EX. Even against a Garbodor deck, we were able to make a comeback with that one big startling Megaphone, and then, you know, N is pretty good as well. So is Mega Venusaur going to be viable competitively? I doubt it, but is it a fun deck to use? Yes. Is it awesome to have 290 HP on a Pokemon or 310 HP? Yes. So I hope you guys enjoyed the video. I will certainly have some more for you soon. I am Pooka from the Top Cut, and I will see you guys next time.